On our last trip to Great Basin National Park, we wanted to start things off with a little bit of an easier trail, so we headed up to do the Alpine Lakes Loop. To get to the trailhead, you'll be driving all the way up to the end of the 𝐈𝐿𝐼 Scenic Drive. There are some pretty spectacular views along the way, and there are also a couple of turnouts for photo ops. You may want to get an early start if you're planning on doing this trail, because this parking lot is also shared by the Bristlecone Trail and the 𝐈𝐿𝐼 Summit Trail, so it can get a little bit crowded. If you are wanting a much more substantial hike, you can combine the Alpine Lakes Loop and the Bristlecone Trail, but in this video we will just be doing the Alpine Lakes Loop, and that will give us a distance of 2.7 miles and an elevation gain of 476 feet. That may not sound like a lot, but remember that this hike is starting at just under 10,000 feet above sea level, so the air is pretty thin up here. There are going to be a couple of forks along the way. The first one is just 1/10 of a mile into the hike, and here we will be going right and starting the climb. You will be climbing for about 1.1 miles before the trail will be leveling off and giving you any type of a break. Along the way, you will probably see these red markers in the trees, and these are to help you keep track of the trail, especially when it's covered in snow. The only challenge is that the road does get closed in the winter time, making this a much longer hike if you plan on snowshoeing, but I bet it would be gorgeous out here. After we crossed a couple cute little bridges, the trail got back to climbing, and it reminded us of the Baker Creek Loop, which is just down the hill a little ways. That might be a good trail to start with if it's your first time to the park, because it is a couple thousand feet lower in elevation. We were definitely having to stop periodically to catch our breath, but then we looked over and saw this cute little guy just living his best life, chomping on some grass. The trail will be going from some fairly dense forest areas to wide open meadows. Even though it had us missing the shade, we were enjoying the views of 𝐈𝐿𝐼, Rock Glacier, and the other surrounding mountains. I have nothing but faith in the viewers of this channel, but I always feel the need to say it anyways. If you are visiting places like this, please clean up after yourself and do not carve your names into trees, because people that carve their names into trees deserve to step on Legos barefoot. And here is a great look at 𝐈𝐿𝐼 standing proudly in the distance. We wanted to do that hike on the last trip, but unfortunately we did not have enough time to acclimate, and its peak stands at right around 13,000 feet above sea level. The altitude on this hike was proving to be plenty, but luckily there was a bench that gave us a nice little break. As we climbed up a little bit higher, something caught my eye at the base of the trees. Much like when we did the Baker Creek Loop, we spotted some turkeys here. It was actually a mom and a couple of babies, but unfortunately the babies were hiding in the grass and I wasn't able to get a good shot of them. We are now 1 mile into the hike, and this is where you will find the junction to 𝐈𝐿𝐼. From the junction, you are just about 1/10 of a mile away from the first alpine lake on this hike. And it is Stella Lake, which you can see right here. This lake sits at an elevation of 10,404 feet above sea level. The water is crystal clear, and this is an amazing place to hang out before either heading back the way you came or continuing on like we're going to. From Stella Lake, we are only about 0.8 of a mile away from the second and final lake that we will be passing by on this hike. And the other good thing to know is that we are done with the vast majority of the climbing on this trail. There are going to be some small hills here and there, but the majority of the rest of the time will be downhill and a little bit rocky. We will be dropping about 120 feet in elevation as we make our way over to Teresa Lake, and we will also be passing by what appear to be some bristlecone pines. You may remember that we did a video about the Bristlecone pines off of Highway 395 a couple weeks back. But if you want to see some more, stay tuned to next week's video because we're going to be hiking up to the Bristlecone pines here and the glacier. Once you see this small creek, you will be very close to Lake Teresa. In fact, this little stream is what feeds it. We were visiting in August, and unfortunately not only was the stream dry, but the lake was a little bit low as well. You can tell by the meadow and the rocks surrounding the lake that it does get quite a bit bigger, but all of the water from the snowmelt was long gone and the temperatures were pretty warm, so we took what we could get. Even though the water level was a little bit low, it still gave us some pretty picture-perfect spots like this. As we continue on, the trail will be circling around to the other side of the lake, or what was left of it when we were visiting. There was another viewpoint towards the back, and I bet that if there was a little bit more water and it was nice and still, you would get some incredible reflections of the mountains. As we drop down even further, we will be coming to the fork for the Bristlecone to Glacier Trail. Please note that the Bristlecone Trail is a bit more strenuous than the hike we've been doing so far, but if you are up for a challenge and some beautiful scenery, we recommend checking it out. The good thing is that you can just wait until next week's video to see it for yourself and figure out if it's worth taking on the extra mileage for you. The good thing is that aside from all of the rocks, roots, and other various tripping hazards, it is going to be pretty much smooth sailing all the way back to the parking lot at this point. If you are planning on heading to Great Basin National Park in the near future, be sure to stick around because not only are we going to be showing you some of the amazing trails that the park has to offer, but we're also going to be heading into Lehman Cave. Not only is that cave really neat, but it's also a great starter cave if you've never been in one before. Even though this trail is fairly simple and straightforward, we always recommend running a tracker to not only help your family and friends keep track of you, but to monitor your progress as well. This trail is a bit of a lollipop loop, and soon you will be back at those two signs that we saw earlier. You want to make a right here to go back towards the trailhead. From there, you pretty much can't get lost and you should be back at the car real soon. We want to hear from you. What is your favorite hike inside of a national park? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe because it really helps out the channel. If you have ideas for future videos, let us know. And for all the information about the Alpine Lakes Loop as well as other awesome Nevada adventures, head on over to livethatadventure.com.